This is Zorina Dimitrova. Welcome to the Grow and Learn podcast. I have a very interesting guest for you today, somebody really successful, and you guys always want to know how people made it. And so we have somebody to tell us a story. It's not really from rags to riches, or I don't really know, but it's from flight attendant to 30, 50 million plus a year revenue. Hi, Danielle. I'm saying hello to Danielle Mulvey. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks for joining us. So you're running the All-In company that talks about, basically that's your strategy for running these profitable companies, is hiring top talent, right? Am I?
Exactly. Yes. So my husband and I have several businesses that do over $50 million a year in annual revenue. And I was spending about 10 hours a week overseeing the operations of those businesses and then spending my other time podcasting, guest speaking, doing speaking engagements. And then Mike and I, Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, are collaborating on his next book. Because what most entrepreneurs struggle with is recruiting and hiring a 5-star team so that they're not working in the business anymore.
Mm-hmm. So may I ask you how you started, because they always say, tell me about your first million. So how did it all start?
Yeah. So I was a flight attendant. I was a flight attendant for about a year. And it was meant to be a gap year job after I graduated college. And then when I figured out where I wanted to settle and such, I got a real job. And then about a year after being in that real job, I had the opportunity to start my own company, which was an advertising and marketing firm in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was 25 years old. So did not have too much experience under my belt, but just ran with it. And sort of the funny, ironic, I don't know what we would really call it, thing about that was my hiring strategy when I started that business was to hire people younger than me, because they would have less experience than me and they wouldn't know if I was doing things good, bad, or indifferent. And that hiring strategy worked for my first few hires. I really was lucky. And then one day I woke up on a Monday morning and said to myself, can I call in sick to my own company? Because I had an employee who was just making me sick, making me want to call in sick. He just was not a good employee. He was a toxic employee. He wasn't on the same page as everyone else. He wasn't on the same page as our clients. And it was that moment when I woke up that day and said, can I call in sick to my own company, that I said, this is ridiculous. Like, I need to learn how to hire the right people and not make another hiring mistake like this. And so I went all in, literally, on learning and studying and really getting it dialed in and figured out on how to recruit, hire, and retain what I call 5-star employees. And so, fast forward about, 20 plus years later, here I am, and I've grown multiple businesses, have those businesses. And then, people have been like, well, how is this possible and such? And then my work with Mike Michalowicz and Profit First and working with other entrepreneurs, it's now we're taking it out there and we're teaching people on how to recruit, hire, and retain those 5-star employees using the 5-star employee rating system.
Mm-hmm. Before I ask you about the 5-star rating system, does this apply to all industries that you're guiding, or does this apply to what industries are your companies in?
Yeah, so it applies to all industries, actually. Because we all need employees. So what you have to do, though, is you sort of tweak it, you customize it to exactly what you're looking for. And that's part of the secret. So our businesses, we have a construction material supply business. We have a business that processes long-term care claims. I have a preschool consulting business where we work with churches on opening brand new preschools and getting them licensed and getting them up to licensed capacity. And I have a consulting firm, and then I run communities based off of a Profit First podcast. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Very cool. And you only work 10 hours a week, max.
Well, so until I started the All In company.
All right. So tell us now about
we're in a bit of a promotion mode on All In.
That's good. That's good. We want to know more.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah.
So
what is the All In company about?
So the All In company is about going all in on your employees, all in on recruiting, hiring, and retaining 5-star employees. Because when you go all in on that, the magic is that your employees go all in on you, and really they start acting like owners. And isn't that what we want? I find that most entrepreneurs and business owners, when it comes to hiring, their attitude is like, oh, I've got to hire. No one's excited about hiring. And, that's the crazy thing. Hiring should be exciting and awesome, because that means that you're growing your business, you're scaling your business, you're leveraging other people to be you, but be better in your business. Getting the right people in the right seat on the right bus, to coin Jim Collins from Good to Great, is such a critical thing. And so as an owner, if you want to get out of the day-to-day and you really want to grow your business and you want to work on your business, not in your business, like Michael Gerber has preached to us with the E-Myth, then you've got to have 5-star employees. And the benefits of a 5-star employee, I mean, oh my gosh, like they take the burden off you. They do the work better than you probably could as well. But it starts with having the mindset that, number one, you're not going to settle for less than a 5-star employee. What's a 5-star employee? Yeah. A 5-star employee represents the top 15% of available talent in the market for the given rate. So statistically, 1 out of 7 candidates is a potential 5-star employee. So the majority of people out there, the majority of applicants, 85% of applicants are 1, 2, or 3-star employees. They're average, ho-hum, or worse employees. And so, in your process of recruiting, hiring, and retaining, you want to use an objective way, an objective system like the 5-star rating system, to help you filter out those 1, 2, and 3-star candidates, so that what you're left with is the cream of the crop, the 5-star employee. Now, I've got a couple of caveats about the 5-star employee. A 5-star employee is the best available talent for the role at the given salary. So you don't pay a 5-star employee more than a 1, 2, or 3-star employee. They're all making the same rate. And that goes to the fact that you can't pay for performance. I often find that people think, oh, well, if I pay them $10,000 more, they'll be so thankful they're going to do their job better. And maybe you've tried it. And if you tried it, it doesn't work. If you haven't tried it, don't bother, because it doesn't work. You can't pay for performance. People either have the 5 stars to make them a 5-star employee, or they don't. But the other interesting thing about a 5-star employee is that it's specific to the role. If I could get a job tomorrow, I could get a job as a bookkeeper. I could be starting as a bookkeeper tomorrow. I could get offers like that because people need bookkeepers. But you know what? I would be a 2-star employee. I know enough about bookkeeping to be dangerous, but I would hate it because I really don't have the aptitude for it. I can do it, but I would hate it. And so I would be a 2-star bookkeeper. But I like to call myself a 5-star entrepreneur because I am a 5-star entrepreneur. So it's really about just making sure that the 5 criteria of the 5-star rating system are all in alignment with the candidate for the specific role. And that's where we go deep, and we kind of go all in on understanding what exactly is needed for the role to find the right candidate and to not settle.
So when you introduced, or when you apply the rating system, does it include the type of company or the company culture that you're recruiting for, or is it specifically the type of activity, the role, like the purely technical part of the role?
You know what's funny is it is highly customized and personalized to the role and to the company. And we've seen this. What's interesting is we've taken the same businesses in the same industries. I think to last month, September, or actually that's 2 months ago now. In September, we took, in one of our cohorts, we had two bookkeeping firms, both looking for bookkeepers. And they were looking for bookkeepers, but they honestly, when it came to their rating system and it came to building their benchmarks, they were looking for completely different people. If one hired a bookkeeper, that bookkeeper would not be a 5-star bookkeeper in the other's firm. So that's why it's really important to take the time to go all in on really understanding what you need and how it fits with your company. So we can walk through the 5 criteria of the 5-star rating system.
Let's do that.
Okay. So the first star is alignment with core values. And this is kind of where the magic happens and where it starts. It's the foundation. It is the cultural fit, to be honest. So what's important is that you have people that are aligned with your true core values, the owner's core values. These are not the aspirational values that maybe you guys have come up with as a team or a group. These core values are true 100% of the time to the owner. This is like your DNA. When you say you want to clone yourself, you start by finding people that share the same core values, and that is the first step to cloning yourself. And when you do these core values, it's important that you have clarifying statements. You're just not going to say, oh, we value relationships. Some people aren't going to value relationships, to be honest, as their core value. But if you value relationships, you have to define what you mean by having relationships as your core value. The second criteria is the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. So we've identified 11 universal qualities of 5-star employees. And what's interesting about this is that out of the 11 qualities, 2 are coded green, which means those are relatively easy to change. 2 are coded red, and those are red flags. Like if someone doesn't meet what you're looking for in terms of that quality, then boom, they're out of your process. We're going to eliminate them. We're going to filter them out because they are not a 5-star candidate anymore. And then the rest are coded gray, which means that they can change, they can improve upon those qualities, but it takes really coaching and attention from the hiring manager in helping that person grow in those qualities. Now, again, kind of the interesting thing about the qualities is that you might not need someone to be, we everything's on a 5-point scale. So you're going to assign a minimum value that you need for each of the qualities for the role. And so, like one of the qualities is learning, and that's one actually coded green. And so, you might not need someone to be a 5 on learning, but you need someone to be a 3 on learning. So, they have a desire, they have wanting to learn, but they just haven't really started listening to podcasts in the subject area, or they're not really reading books on the topic or articles and such. And so, if you get someone like that, you kind of just need a 3 because that's green. So that's easy to change. In some organizations, you might need someone to be a 5 in terms of learning. You need someone who's already embedded in the industry and who's already like all over industry news, industry topics, etc. Then one of the red qualities is listen. So, maybe you need someone who is really attuned to listening, and you need someone to be a 5 when it comes to listening. I need my employees to be a 5 when it comes to listening. And I was interviewing a candidate in March, and it was a screening interview. So it was the first interview. And 3 minutes into the interview, I'm like, this person's not answering the couple of questions I've asked, very basic questions. And so then I was like, okay, let me dial this down and kind of see if I need to simplify these questions. And at the 5.5 minute mark, still not answering the questions. And at that point, I'm like, this person's not a listener. This is a red flag. This one's coded red. They don't get it. They're not nearly a 5. They're a 0 actually. And so, I said to that person, okay, I'm sorry, but at this time, you're not going to move forward in our process. But thank you and best of luck to you. So the 11 qualities, again, outside of the core values, because those are the same for your company, no matter the person or the role that you're recruiting for. But now that we get into the other stars of the 5-star rating system, this is where it can be different in terms of what you're looking for or the level that you're looking for, based off of the specific role. The third star in the 5-star rating system are aptitudes and skills. So we have over 25 aptitudes that we've identified, and we recommend that you find out of that list about 9 to 13 aptitudes that you need specific to the role. And then determine, where that person needs to be. Do they need to be a 3 in terms of creativity because you need creativity, or do they need to be a 5? And what does creativity look like for you in the role? Creativity for a graphic designer is going to look different than the creativity that you need from someone who's an event manager, totally different. And then you're also going to test for skills. You want to get and make sure that what you need from that person out of the gate, they're able to do. They have the skills necessary. So, I would get a bookkeeping job tomorrow because most companies don't test their bookkeepers or their candidates for a bookkeeping position. They just say, oh, you say you're a bookkeeper? All right, you're hired. So it's really important that you're testing for the skills, and then that person is proving that they truly are a 5-star bookkeeper because they're demonstrating the skill to do the job. And then the 4th star on the 5-star rating system is meeting the success metrics for the key responsibilities. So you're going to want to define 3 to 5 key responsibilities for the role, and then quantify what success looks like with those key responsibilities by putting a number, putting a dollar sign, putting a percentage to what you need for that role. So for example, if I'm hiring a director of a preschool, and one of their key responsibilities is to have the center at 95% capacity at the start of a school year, then I'm going to measure that by them being at 95% capacity. So I've put a percent, I've put what success looks like. You're going to fill the center at minimum of 95% of licensed capacity. And what's interesting about this aspect is you can use a 5-star employee rating system to assess your existing talent, and that kind of proves the 5-star rating system to yourself. And then you can apply it to new talent. And so people are either making it or breaking it when it comes to hitting the success metrics for the role of your existing employees. But when you put the success metrics of what success looks like for the key responsibilities on a job posting, that, my friend, attracts the 5-star candidates because they're like, I got this. I like how they're saying this. I like to be measured. I like to prove myself. And it will repel the 1, 2, and 3-star candidates who are like, oh, they're actually going to measure me. They're going to hold me accountable. I think I'll go apply to these other 1,000 openings for a bookkeeper where they're not going to, hold me to anything.
It's a self-selection. The business schools rely on self-selection a lot.
Exactly. And then the fifth star in the 5-star employee rating system is return on payroll. And this is really valuable, especially with your existing talent and using the 5-star employee rating system on your existing talent. But it also reminds you when you're recruiting for people, every employee in your company needs to be producing a minimum of a 3x return on payroll. So if you're paying someone $50,000 a year, they should be having a $150,000 impact on the business, 3xing their $50,000 salary. And so you want to make sure that their key responsibilities and what they're being measured for, those 3 to 5 key responsibilities, are really driving revenue, and not just being busy to be busy and collect a paycheck. So that is the 5-star rating system.
It's quite interesting. It's actually impressive. It's very all encompassing. It's indeed all in. But how do you separate the intuitive process, or does the intuitive process of selecting somebody, of like, you feel that this person is a match, how does this fit in, or do you completely ignore it, and is it completely a logical process?
So we've made it an objective process, because you're exactly right. Like, most hiring today is subjective. Like, we want them to think that, how do I say this? When someone puts their hat in the ring and says, I want the job, like, they want the job and they don't want to be rejected. So, they're going to say and do things, and you're going to want to believe them, because we want to believe the person in front of us. But it's all subjective. It's he said, she said. It's, I want to believe this. Here's an example. My dad has been an entrepreneur for 45 years, and he needed to hire a new controller in his business. And he asked me to sit in on the interviews, and he asked someone from his accounting firm to sit on the interviews. And there were 4 candidates, and one candidate wore a suit to the interview for a controller position in a company that does tens of millions of dollars a year. And my dad swiftly eliminated that person as a candidate when they walked in the door. So it didn't matter what that candidate said. It didn't matter what that candidate's experience was. It didn't matter what that candidate could demonstrate in terms of their skills. He wore a suit. Okay. That candidate was the number one candidate of mine and the number one candidate of the CPA, the most qualified, the person who was able to demonstrate their skills, their aptitudes, their qualities, everything you're looking for in a 5-star employee. But my dad wanted to go with the candidate who we ranked number 4, a recent college graduate, but he was a collegiate athlete. So that's where my dad really felt the connection, because my dad played sports in college, and just, there's history there. But the person didn't have any experience. The person didn't even have a degree in accounting, and was not qualified for the role. But just like most people and most hiring managers, we hire someone who we think is like us, but it's based on subjectivity, and that's where we make grave mistakes. Because I could be friends with you, but I might not be, the right employee for you. And so this is more about being not just about being friends. It's about cultural alignment. It's having those core values as the foundation and that DNA, but then having all the other qualities, aptitudes, and skills, being able to hit the success metrics and producing that return on payroll that makes it the individual a 5-star candidate for that job.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And when it comes to not aptitudes, but I would call them rather attitude. Yeah, aptitudes is really an attitude, but not necessarily skill-based, but what is the attitude towards the job, and whether you're enthusiastic about it, or is this kind of integrated in within the 5 stars, like spread?
Yeah.
throughout the
So actually what we like to do is we like to use an assessment that's actually called Objectively Hire. So in our process, we recommend that you have a gauntlet, like you're taking candidates through and you're spending a lot of time with candidates in a multi-step process to vet them out and to be filtering out the 1, 2, and 3 star candidates. And what we recommend is having an assessment at the front end. So when someone applies, the first thing they'll do after they apply is they'll take an assessment. And it's stated in the job posting, the next step is taking a 35-minute assessment within 24 hours of your application. And the interesting thing is the majority of applicants don't take the assessment. So great. We've eliminated the 1 and 2 star candidates out of the gate. And then what's cool about this assessment are, well, not one thing, but lots of things are cool about this assessment. One of those things is that you create a benchmark for the role, with the assessment. So it's the same assessment, but you create different benchmarks depending upon the role. And so then that person's candidate's assessment is scored against the benchmark for the role. If they score 70% or higher, they move on. They're a potential 5-star candidate. If they score less than 70%, they have filtered themselves out. They're not a match for the role. And so what the assessment does is the assessment measures people on their abilities, on working with words, working with numbers, working with things. It measures them on personality. But then what it also does is it also gives you an insight into, what kind of team player they are, how they operate within a team. And it also gives you, do they love to work or do they live to work? Those are 2 different things. And you talk about passion. So it also gives you some insight into their work habits. And again, what's cool about this is you use the 5-star employee rating system. You use these assessments on your existing employees to prove it to yourself. So we take people through a process of having their existing employees take the assessment, and all of their employees. And what's interesting is we build the benchmark off the 5-star employees that they have. And what's interesting is when we build that benchmark off the 5-star employees, of course they score 70% or higher, but the employees that they're just frustrated with and not happy with, and they're really 1, 2, and 3-star candidates. When we score their assessments against that benchmark, of course they score 30, 40, 50, 60 below that 70% benchmark. And then the owner is like, oh my gosh, if I would have had this, I would have never hired them to begin with. So it's a really cool process, but that's how you can objectively really determine exactly what you're saying. Like, are they passionate? Do they love to work? Do they have the right personality and the right abilities for doing this type of role?
Mm-hmm. So just to go one level deeper, if you don't currently have employees within this pool that you're hiring for, would you then take the first, let's say, 10% out of everybody who's applied and make a benchmark out of these, or how does it work?
So if you didn't have existing employees, you can paint your own benchmark. So okay. you could create your own benchmark. And what's interesting about, even when you use your best employees to build a benchmark, like over time, you improve upon that. So, we've been using this assessment for 8 years now. And every couple of years, we go back and we poll our best employees, because other people have been promoted, and we reestablish our benchmark. And it's usually just like maybe 1 or 2 areas that just kind of shift 1 point over, or so. But yeah, it's a continual process, but you can paint your own benchmarks. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another question. You're hiring great employees, but have you noticed also a correlation between the fact that these are high-performing teams of employees and their mental health or happiness level within the company? Is there a correlation, the overall atmosphere within these companies?
Yeah. So, if someone, that's a great question. So typically a 5-star employee is like a perfect fit for the role. They love what they're doing. So they're not prone to having that stress and that burnout. But as the owner, you've got to be cognizant of what's going on. You've got to make sure that that you're taking care of your employees. And there's a couple of ways to do that. So then the first thing is that most people, if people have a purpose and they're appreciated and they know what they're doing is making a difference, that just makes their day so much better and so much lighter. And so we recommend that businesses and if depending upon the size, maybe you break it down into teams, but that you have daily huddles or vitamin C meetings is what we call them, vitamin SEE meetings. And so it's a quick, less than 10-minute meeting during the day. And you start the day with you start the meeting off with a celebration. So, it could be a personal celebration. It could be a work celebration. It could be an employee celebration, but you start off with a celebration. And that is what's cool about that is that brings everyone up in terms of their state. So it brings everyone up to like, hey, that's cool. Even if it wasn't you getting celebrated, maybe it's a teammate, but it just is like, yeah, we're making a difference. We're a team. We're working together. And then everyone goes through and shares, here's the 3 things I did yesterday. Here are the 3 things I'm going to do today. It's important to document this or scribe it so you can keep track of everything. But, again, this is where the owner is, leading the meeting. You're not necessarily sharing the 3 things I did yesterday, the 3 things I did today. But what you're doing is you're going, oh my gosh, yeah, I saw that. That's awesome. Great job, Carrie. Or it's an opportunity to keep the mojo, keep the energy, and keep people understanding why they're there, what they're doing. And in 10 minutes, you can touch all of your employees and have a positive impact on them so that they're starting their day in the best state and they're just going to knock it out of the park with that 10 minutes. So it's important. And what's also cool about that is I can also hear when they're frustrated with things or when they're running into obstacles or where something just isn't moving and maybe it's not moving because they're not getting a response back from someone. And that's when I can, I note it and then I can go to them and say, hey, would it help if I called the CFO since you're not getting a response back from the accounts payable department? Let me call the CFO and kind of notch this up a little bit because that person's working hard. They just have hit an obstacle that they can't overcome. And so that's when, I can step in and I can help and take a little burden off of them because, the CFO isn't going to take a call from that individual, but they'll take a call from me. Right. So that's how we recommend just, keeping your pulse on things. And again, like I'm doing that and only having to spend like a little bit at a time helping to remove obstacles for my team and just keep them going and keep them on the right energy and the right state level.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. All right. So you also mentioned on your website, which is daniellemulvey.com, that you're not coaching clients, you're guiding them. So to tell us about what you do, what is the format, how you help your clients, how you teach them to apply this, or what is the process through which you guide your...
So I can't do it for you. But I can guide you and my team can guide you and we can give you feedback on how you can customize and personalize the 5-star employee rating system to attract 5-star talent and to help you weed out the 1, 2, and 3-star candidates. Because, I can't write a bookkeeping job description for you, but I can guide you on how to write a bookkeeping job description that will attract the 5-star candidate for your business. And I can do it for your competitors too, because you guys are going to have different criteria. Really, you need the basics, but there's going to be some other different things that really make the difference between you having your 5-star candidate and another company having their 5-star candidates.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned you were on the process of promoting something. What is it that you've launched now?
Oh, so we do have the all-in programming, so where we guide people through on the 5-star employee rating system and how to develop the assets to recruit, hire, and retain 5-star employees. So, I mentioned a little bit about having the right job postings, implementing the objectively hire assessments and creating benchmarks so that you can have candidates take that assessment when they apply, and if they pass with 70% or higher, then they move on in your process. And there's a lot of other out of the box recruitment strategies. Too many people are just relying on Indeed, one job board. And so, you want to cast as big of a net as possible. Just fishing in the Indeed pond or fishing in the in the ZipRecruiter pond is too small of a net. So you want to be fishing in lots of ponds and casting a wide net to attract the best of the best and truly the most ideal 5-star candidates.
All right, awesome, very interesting. Thank you so much, Danielle. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I know we went through this quickly, and I really appreciate the opportunity. It's a lot, but I do have how to hire 5-star employees. It's a quick guide. It actually lists out all the 11 qualities, because we would have spent a whole hour on going through each of the 11 qualities. But if you text "never settle" as one word, that's "never settle" to 411-321. So never settle to 411-321. Then you can get the how to hire 5-star employees guide with the 11 qualities.
Wonderful. Well, it was a real pleasure and very informative for sure. Thank you so much.